What's going on, Giants fans? Welcome back. And today, we need to have a real conversation about where this team stands after another round of roster cuts. The NFL preseason has officially wrapped up, which means the New York Giants, just like every other team in the league, are facing one of the most brutal realities of the business, trimming the roster from 90 players down to the final 53. It's one of the toughest times of the year, and if you follow this team for any length of time, you know exactly what it feels like. Hopeful players who've spent months grinding through training camp, film sessions, and endless drills suddenly find themselves on the outside looking in. This past week, the Giants made 8 roster cuts, with 4 names released earlier in the day and 4 more by nightfall. And while none of these cuts are shocking headline moves, every single one tells us something about how this front office and coaching staff view the roster. These decisions shape the future of the team, whether it's depth at cornerback, special teams contributors, or the offensive line rotation. Let's start with one of the more intriguing names, Audinal Fortune, a young defensive back who made some flashes in the preseason. If you watched him against the Patriots, you saw him flying around, breaking up passes, showing the kind of fight you want from a roster bubble guy. Unfortunately, the earlier preseason struggles, like the costly deep ball mistake against Buffalo, highlight just how unforgiving this league is. You can't afford breakdowns at critical moments, especially when you're battling just to survive cutdown day. Fortune, like many undrafted free agents before him, became a victim of the numbers game. The ripple effect of his cut is significant. The Giants' cornerback room still has Deonte Banks, Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins, Nick Jones, Corey Black, and others jockeying for position. And injuries, like the one to TJ Moore, could still shake things up further. But for now, the Giants have made it clear who they're prioritizing as their defensive back depth. Next up, let's talk about Zach Pascal, the veteran wide receiver who came in with hopes of being a steadying presence in the room. A reliable veteran with a reputation for special teams contributions, Pascal just didn't show enough juice to demand a spot. Yes, he had a handful of catches in the preseason, but in a wide receiver room loaded with young talent, Malik Neighbors, Wandale Robinson, Jalin Hyatt, and the steady Darius Slayton, it became clear the Giants were leaning youth over veteran reliability. Behind those 4 locks, the real battle is fierce. Gunnar Olszewski, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Amir Smith-Marset, Juice Wells, and a few others are clawing for what may end up being only 1 or 2 final roster spots. If you ask me, Gunnar's versatility as a returner gives him the inside track, but that last seat on the wide receiver bus is still wide open. The offensive line also saw movement with the release of Jimmy Morrissey. Statistically, he actually graded out well during preseason action. Solid in pass protection, solid in run blocking, he was by no means a liability. But the Giants clearly felt comfortable with the depth they have, even if it means taking some risks at backup center. When you have John Michael Schmitz anchoring the middle and the versatility of guys like Greg Van Roden, tough calls like this one are inevitable. Finally, KJ Cloyd, the linebacker who brought some energy but simply got caught in the wrong numbers battle, was let go. With Bobby Okerek, Micah McFadden, Darius Musa, and others holding down the middle, there just wasn't space. So that's 4 names from the afternoon cuts, 4 from the morning, and a clearer picture of what Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll value heading into this crucial stretch. Roster cuts aren't just about which names get released. They tell the story of where the Giants believe they are strongest and where they're still searching for answers. Let's take a step back and really evaluate what these moves mean. At cornerback, the release of Fortune doesn't necessarily weaken the group, but it does put the spotlight squarely on the younger guys like Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins. Banks, last year's first-round pick, is expected to be the CB1 of the future. Hawkins has been one of the most intriguing stories of camp, showing growth each week. These are the players who will have to step up immediately if the Giants are going to compete against high-powered offenses in the NFC East. At wide receiver, this is where things get really interesting. The Giants haven't had a dominant WR1 presence in years, and while Malik Neighbors hasn't played a single regular season snap yet, there's real belief he can become that guy. Watching him in camp and preseason, you can see why. Explosive off the line, smooth route running, and the ability to make contested catches, he has the skill set to transform the offense. But behind him, it's about finding role players who complement the core. Pascal's departure doesn't sting because the Giants trust their young talent. The bigger question is, can those young receivers stay healthy and consistent over a full season? The offensive line, as always, is the wild card. Every Giants fan knows the O-line has been the team's Achilles heel for years. But for once, there's a sense of cautious optimism. Schmitz is settling into his role at center. Andrew Thomas remains a cornerstone, and even Evan Neal, though still developing, has shown flashes. The preseason proved this group has more depth than in years past, but also raised the reality that some capable linemen won't make the final 53. Morrissey is the first example, and he won't be the last. Linebacker depth also tells us something important. The Giants' defense is built around versatility, linebackers who can cover ground, blitz, and contribute in multiple ways. Cloyd had moments, but with Okerek and McFadden locked in, the coaching staff clearly trusts the players who've already earned larger roles. And let's not forget about the earlier cuts, guys like Montrell Washington, who flashed during camp with highlight plays but couldn't overcome inconsistency. Or Jordan Riley, another young hopeful who didn't quite do enough to stick. These aren't household names, but they're reminders of how brutally competitive this process is. Before we move into the final section, Giants fans, I want to say this. If you live and breathe New York Giants football, this is the place for you. We're breaking down every cut, every roster battle, every game, all season long. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. This community is built for diehard Giants fans, and your support is what keeps it going strong. So, what does all of this mean moving forward? The truth is, this is only the beginning. The Giants have made 8 cuts, but they still need to slash nearly 30 more names before reaching the final 53. And that's where things get really difficult. Here's the reality. Some players we've grown attached to over the summer will not be wearing blue come week 1. There will be surprises. There will be tough calls that spark debate. And yes, there may even be a veteran or two whose release makes us question the direction of the roster. That's the nature of this time of year. But look deeper, and you'll see the identity of this team starting to form. On defense, Wink Martindale has his fingerprints all over the personnel decisions. He values aggressive corners, linebackers who can blitz and cover, and linemen who can rotate in waves. Every cut, every roster tweak points toward that aggressive, physical style of defense. On offense, Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka are leaning heavily on youth and upside. By clearing out veterans who no longer fit, they're betting big on players like Neighbors, Hyatt, and Robinson to not only contribute, but to elevate the unit. It's a gamble, but one that could pay off in a big way if the young talent rises to the occasion. And while it's easy to focus on the disappointment of cuts, remember this. Roster cutdowns aren't the end for every player. Some will land on the practice squad. Others may get opportunities with different teams. The NFL is a constantly moving puzzle, and what looks like the end of the road for one guy today could be a new beginning tomorrow. Final thoughts, Giants fans. Here's the bottom line. The cutdowns are hard, but they're necessary. They sharpen the roster. They force the coaching staff to commit to the players they believe can help this team win. So as we sit here today with 8 names already gone and many more to come, don't view it as loss, view it as clarity. The New York Giants are shaping a roster built around youth, speed, and versatility. Some fan favorites won't make it. Some surprise names will rise. But this is the process every NFL team must go through, and it's what will prepare the Giants for the grind of the season ahead. If you're a Giants fan, buckle up. The next few days will be a roller coaster of news, emotions, and tough decisions. But one thing's for sure, the 2025 New York Giants are being built right before our eyes. And when Week 1 arrives, this roster will be battle-tested, hungry, and ready to prove that the Giants aren't just here to compete, they're here to take the next step. Go Big Blue!